All right, good afternoon. It is 1:03 p.m. and welcome to the December 13th, 2023 Technical Review Committee meeting. My name is Ryan Fisher. I'm a senior planner with Oldham County Planning and Development. The purpose of this technical review meeting is to review any proposed subdivisions, zoning map amendments, and development plans before they go to the Planning Commission. This gives local agencies and utility companies that are represented here in front of you today the chance that will provide services the opportunity to review those plans, discuss and comment about the accessibility of services, and ensure all aspects of the development plans adhere to zoning and subdivision regulations. This meeting also provides adjoining property owners and concerned citizens in attendance the opportunity to ask technical questions of the applicants or agencies represented here before you today. And once again, I'll reiterate, the Technical Review Committee does not make any decisions today. This is just really those agencies that are represented here reviewing those plans and letting the applicant know things that need to be changed. And then, as I stated, we will have an opportunity for the general public to come up and ask questions. We just try to ask that those questions that remain technical in nature of either the agencies represented or the applicant. With that being said, if you'll just make sure you check your cell phones, make sure they're silenced or on vibrate. If you do have to take a call, we just ask that you please just step outside. And with that being said, we have one item on the docket today. It's TRC 23-015 for a proposed subdivision of 11 total lots known as the Hearth Foundation at 1201 East Highway 524. So we'll begin with having the applicant or the representative come forward and give a brief presentation of the application.
Thank you, members of the Technical Review Committee. My name is Cliff Ashburner. I'm with Dinsmore and Scholl, 101 South 5th Street, Louisville 40202. Here today on behalf of the Hearth Foundation. As you described, Ryan, this is a relatively simple application in terms of the number of lots being created. There are 5 lots up on 524, and then the remaining lots are behind them. Current proposed access is off Conservation Park Road. We became aware of some issues maybe related to that access that we'll need to discuss a little bit further before we come back before the Planning Commission. With that, I'd like to ask Mike Hill to come up and just kind of walk you through the plan.
Thanks, Cliff. Mike Hill, Land Design and Development, 503 Washburn Avenue, Louisville 40222. So as mentioned, what's before you today with this application is a proposed preliminary subdivision plan. Divides the 200-acre property that you see before you into 11 different tracts. 10 of the 11 tracts are proposed or will be proposed, assuming they're approved, for single-family residential construction. So there would be 10 homes constructed on the majority of the site. Tract, I think it's 6 on the plan is 86-acre tract, the largest one on the right side of the screen. That one, while the tract is proposed to be created on this plat, it's not proposed for any kind of construction or development at this time. At a point undetermined in the future, they would come back with a proposal for a different project than what we're seeing today. It would be called their long-term goal. It's an innovation center, which is a building with a variety of cabins, kind of a retreat center type cabin set up there. So that's not what we're talking about today. Today's just the division of the land into these 11 lots for potential 10 residential homes. So as Cliff mentioned, there are 5 lots that have direct frontage on 524. And then there's another 5 in the rear that would have proposed access, a couple different options there from the rear that I know there's some concerns there that still have to be worked out. But it's kind of divided into 2, kind of small subdivisions, if you will. We have talked to the, I don't see them here, the health department, but they've come out and done their preliminary soil evaluation tests. We've talked with the State Transportation Cabinet about access to the first 5 lots, which would have to be shared access between 2 lots per access. And I know I'm interested to hear what the rest of you all think about the various items related to the plan today. That's really it as far as the brief summary of what's proposed before you, and ready to receive your comments.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll allow the agencies to address their comments. I'll begin from Planning and Development, and I've already provided you all the letter of these items, and I already placed one in the record as well. So I'll just go through most of these fairly fast, but the first one is obviously there's the address is listed incorrectly on the developers, just missing a 5 in the 9520 Ormsby Station. Include the proposed size of any water mains, gas, sanitary sewer lines, as well as locations, dimensions of water, sewer, gas, or any electrical easements, as well as the location of any proposed fire hydrants, if any. I know those are comments that will be addressed by other agencies later on. Label any areas as sinkholes, lakes, ponds, marshes, or wetlands, and note any other natural features that may be affected by the proposed subdivision. Include any areas of substantial existing trees, included in their description, their type and size, and note any areas of trees that will be removed on the plan. I do have a note on number 6 about Conservation Park Road. I know Jim Silliman, the county engineer, will have additional comments on this as well, so I won't touch on it too much, just as far as that access off of Conservation Park Road. Include any areas of steep slopes on the plan. If none are present, add a note stating that no steep slopes are on the site over 30%. Note on the plans any access points that will be used by vehicles during construction. I know there's been some citizen comment on whether Conservation Park Road can be utilized for any of that. I think that goes along with the access, but note any type of traffic that may be for construction traffic. Note on the plans any man-made structures, houses, barns, or outbuildings that may affect any design, as well as the features that will remain or be removed. And in particular, that's lots 1 and 4, which there appears maybe already be structures on. In addition on that, on our GIS map, it shows 1101 East Highway 524 as a separate address and a separate parcel ID. That is not shown that way on the plans, so just please confirm that and make corrections if needed. Made a note on number 11 about the adjoining property owner being incorrect, should be listed as HJH Farm LLC. Made a note about the cluster mailbox location if that's what USPS is going to require. About a maintenance and access agreement for any of those proposed shared access easements, and then include any proposed variances that are going to be needed for road frontage or waivers that may be needed from the subdivision regulations on that as well. That concludes my comments. I do have a couple other agencies that weren't able to be here today for comments, even though you've a little stolen my thunder already with the Health Department and KYTC, but that's okay. Charlie Ward with the Health Department did send his letter in. I know you have already got a copy of that, but I'll just read this so that everybody is aware. So Charlie with the Health Department did do a preliminary subdivision on-site sewage evaluation on the property on November 15th. Findings indicated that the soil in this area was mostly considered provisionally suitable for conventional subsurfacing discharge septic systems. Some areas were more than adequate with soil depth for conventional lateral field installation, with soil types consisting mainly of silty loam to silty clay loam and blocky structure. Other areas had shallow restrictive horizons and presence of mottling, which will affect installation depths of lateral fields. Once the lots of this subdivision have been surveyed, property lines established, a separate site evaluation will be performed on each property for a specific location of that on-site sewage disposal system if or when a residential structure is to be constructed. So that is Charlie Ward's letter with the Health Department. In addition, I know he did state that if anybody that's here as an adjoining property owner has questions for him, if you all want to get his card from me after the meeting, he's more than willing to be able to talk to you all about anything. So I wanted to make that note before I forgot about it. And then lastly, Jason Richardson with Kentucky Transportation, and Mr. Hill already alluded to this, but the individual access points for tract 1 through 6 that are directly on 524 would not be allowed. Shared access easements will need to be developed for tracks 1 and 2, tracks 3 and 4, and tracks 5 and 6 for a total of 3 access points on 524. And those will need to be located where there's acceptable site distance. So with that being said, I'll go down to Jim Sullivan, our county engineer.
Thank you. And so with regard to KYTC, you mentioned the letter from Jason Richardson. Of course, when you, or if you do pursue those encroachments, you'll need to get a permit from KYTC for the encroachment on the state right-of-way. With regard to any jurisdictional streams, and Ryan mentioned wetlands, those should be shown on the future plans. And also, when construction plans are ready to be provided, if we go that far, you'll need to coordinate with the Division of Water, Kentucky Division of Water, and the Army Corps of Engineers with regard to any impacts. And we'd like to see communication regarding future driveways or other individual lot impacts on the streams or other features, not just the immediate subdivision construction of roads, but future lots. Because a lot of times those get separated, and then individual lots get treated different than a large subdivision, so we want to see that up front. Because it's a greater than an acre of land disturbance, obviously, for total construction, Kentucky Division of Water KYR10 permit will be required for construction, as well as our Oldham County Stormwater Management and Erosion Control permit. We have received one or more concerns from the public about stormwater. Just for the public's awareness, the stormwater ordinance does address that these sites that are over an acre of land disturbance have to provide stormwater quality and stormwater detention for the 2, 10, and 100-year storms. The designer for the applicant will go through a process of submitting calculations to show that the basins or stormwater features that they are providing meet those regulations, and we review those prior to approving construction plans. In the letter that will be provided to you, if Ryan hasn't already given it to you, it does have some specific features with regard to the stormwater design. I'm not going to go into those details right now. If you could, on the next submittal, just update the FEMA floodplain data. I think it should be March 23rd, 2021. When we get down to the roadway comments, Mr. Ashburner, you mentioned this, and Ryan did also, with regard to the Conservation Park Road. When we met at the pre-application meeting, we had a recent easement for LG&E that had been recorded for that area. Digging a little bit deeper, doing some more research and some references from that easement, we found the document, the sales agreement for when the Oldham County Fiscal Court purchased the Morgan Conservation Park, and the agreement with adjacent landowners. The way I read that and the way I understand it is that the Conservation Park Road, as stated in that agreement, is only for 2 lots that were currently in existence. They're tracks 1 and 3 on Plat 6, page 40. I'm sorry, tracks 2 and 3, and the Conservation Park. So based on that, the access from Conservation Park Road for this subdivision does not appear to be allowed. So an alternate access would, I guess, potentially have to be the one you show coming off 524, extending to the other 3 parcels. Of course, then you get into the issue of accessing more than 3 lots from one driveway, and does that require a waiver? And there are alternatives to that to resolve that, whether it's a public road or a private road design. So we just need to discuss that further, and this is all based on that Conservation Park Road sales agreement. Other than that, as requested right now with 10 or 11 lots, the trip generation is just around 10 vehicles AADT, and would not require a traffic impact study or a traffic assessment in accordance with our subdivision regulations. And my understanding of KYTC's requirements, it wouldn't require a traffic impact study from them also.
The only thing I would say is, depending on what Jim was talking about with the access of more than 3 lots, we might, you might want to consider having like a private road named to, we'll just have to have that approved, see if it's anything, common in the county. Other than that, we'll just address them when it comes time to.
Right.
Keith Smith, LaGrange Fire Rescue Department. A whole lot of what I would mention about fire hydrants and the like is going to depend on a whole lot of what Mr. Rose says. So we should have switched spots here, but that's all I got to say.
Russ Rose, Oldham County Water. So we've not reviewed any construction plans for this development. Water is currently along Highway 524, or at least portions of Highway 524. And again, without any construction documents, I currently don't see how we would access, we would have to talk about how we would access lots 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, to get water to those tracks. And currently, I believe, without off-site improvements, this will not meet the fire protection standards set by the Oldham County Planning and Zoning. So I think that's all my comments at this time.
All right. Do you?
Russ, I know we spoke on the phone a little bit, just generally speaking about water issues and concerns out there.
Sure.
Could you elaborate a little bit on the inadequacy of the existing situation and what might need to occur to determine any future infrastructure improvements that may need to be made?
So we did not do any type of study to see what improvements would need to be made, but we just looked at currently it could not meet the 500 gallons a minute standard set for a development of this size.
Okay, and you don't know the exact number that it's below 500, right? Without doing some more
Right.
research.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your research on the access. I think definitely some concerns there that we need to look at with regard to how to access some of these lots. So we'll have some decisions to make on that moving forward. But
And I would just say potentially however you access them might also affect where the meters are set and how we get water back to those lots back there.
right. Because I think you said the existing 529 is on the south side of 529, according to your maps, at least.
It kind of goes back and forth.
Okay.
At this point. And going up the hill, it actually is even off of the road there. So we would just need to sit down and probably look at more construction detail to come up with a plan
Okay.
to make sure that all lots could be served with residential service.
Sure.
And then we can talk about maybe what improvements could be made to meet the fire protection standards.
Okay. Sure.
And Russ, if I can ask too, though, but you mentioned those back lots. Those wouldn't be served by a simple property service connection. They'd have to, the idea might be that they have to run a water line.
I'm assuming it's all residential homes, so it could be served with a property service connection.
They can be all the way.
But there currently is no water main that touches those lots.
Right. Right. I guess that's what I was getting at was.
Yeah. You have it appears with lot 6, you have potential there for a shared access, looks like to 6, 7, and 8. And so I think it would be prudent if we just sat down and talked about how you would access those lots with water, what your plan is, and then we can tell you whether we can accomplish that or not.
Okay. Chief, do you have any follow-up to that since he's now spoken on those issues?
Wait to see what the plan is.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Do you need to add anything, Mr. Ashburner? No, I don't think so. Okay. All right. At this point, we will open it up for public comment, and I will start with one that was emailed, unless Mrs. Kay Bauer is present and she would like to speak on her own. If not, I'll just go ahead. I did submit the applicant an email that I received from a Kay Bauer at 4800 Sycamore Valley Trail, Westport, Kentucky 40077. I won't read the letter fully. I have put one in the record, but really the two comments have to deal with stormwater runoff from flooding on Highway 524. And then also the prevention of light pollution and any lighting that would be in the neighborhood as well. So those are really kind of the two basic things that her comments fall within. And like I said, the applicant has received that email as well as one has been placed into the record. With that being said, we'll open it up for anybody that's present here today that would like to comment. We just ask that you come forward and state your name and address for the record and speak as close and loudly into the microphone as you can. And once again, those questions should try to remain technical in nature of either the agencies represented here before you or the applicant. So would anybody like to speak? Nobody? Going once, going twice. Okay, we got to take her.
Hello, my name is Ken McFarland, 7216 Oregon Creek Road. I had a question about the Conservation Road. What's it named? Conservation Park Road. I believe it was you, Jim, that said it in some previous sales records or something. Could you elaborate on that? Because I guess I wasn't 100% sure. You said that road is not a county road, or it's only, like, what's the access?
Right, so
for that
it's
road?
not a county road. It's not in public right-of-way. There's an easement that encompasses, there's a 40-foot easement that encompasses that pavement, but it's not a publicly maintained road.
So easement meaning it's a road to the park
It's,
and to some people that live
it
back
gives
there.
specific rights for use, but it's not a public road.
Okay.
It serves a public property, so that's confusing, right? Because it serves the park, but it's not a public road in the sense that it's a publicly maintained thoroughfare.
Okay, because one of the issues is like when you have snow and things like that to get plowed.
If it gets plowed, it's getting plowed as a county property because of the park.
Okay.
And it's
Just
not-
like we would plow our parking lot.
It's not built to the standards of
Correct.
a publicly dedicated road.
That's correct.
And what would be the process to change that or to upgrade the road?
Well, I think
For-
initially we'd have to look into our county attorney would have to look into that sales agreement that I mentioned. If it specifically says that it's for certain parties, how do we go about that before we even get into the geometry and the cross-section and the pavement section of the road, the physical properties? We would need to figure out the legal properties.
Right. And then how do we see the document that you're referring to?
It's a public document. It was recorded with fiscal court
Fiscal court.
records. If you could request a open records request from my office, we'd
Or
provide it.
It's in the deed room as well, right?
Yes.
It's recorded in the deed room as well, so either through Jim's office or the deed room.
Okay. And in really old, because my property is at the back right there, when we were purchasing that, there was some, I don't know what to say, old maps or something that had a road in the back there somewhere. Has that ever been, like it was a previously like listed numbered county road, but never was built or anything like that? Is there anything like that that's actually already on the books, so to speak?
Can you use the mouse and, where are you talking about?
Well, it was here and going this way. I remember seeing something on a map, and I thought Where's, it actually went to 42. So there's nothing there, but I remember seeing some maps, like when we had a deed and before we actually purchased our land, which is here.
Yeah, without
was
without
some
doing
kind
more
of-
research, I'm not aware of anything
Okay.
right now that
And
that
it
matches that
went this
description.
way to 42. Is 42 here somewhere?
A little bit out further, but yes.
That's farther, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else care to speak? Yes, you can come forward.
Nedra Blyfer, 1200 East Highway 524. I just have a question. So there's a creek running through the middle that we know. And as far as the conservation and stuff, can you, I don't know, like how the water line would run, but can you put a water line through a creek or under a creek, or is that?
You can. There's a permitting process for that through the Division of Water, and so you would have to go through that process.
Okay. But as of now, water access would only come off of 524?
Correct.
Okay. So to get water all the way back, it would have to come from 524 all the way across those first lots through the creek and,
Correct. And I believe that would all be permitted through the Health Department.
okay. And they were saying that the largest lot is not being deemed as exactly what it would be used for. And I'm trying to remember the question I had about, like, if we don't know exactly what it's going to be to determine, like, the water, where the water was going to go, because there was so much, you could only run so much water depending on how many houses were going to be built. So that if you do, like, the first phase and determine how the water is going to be done, and we don't know what the second phase is going to be, so how would you set it up? Because it seems to me that the second phase would be not just private homes, it would be more like a public facility, so that it would need more, I don't know what the proper term is, access to more water, access to more traffic, because it's a public facility. Does that make sense, what I'm asking, sort of, kind of?
Well, again, because it's a second phase, it would be addressed at a later date. And were it in front of us now, we would look at it now, but it's not. So that if they address the capacity of the 10 lots now, and that's deemed sufficient at some point, whether it's from the installation of a new water main or however it's served, then later when a second or subsequent phase comes through, it would be their responsibility to provide for that second phase.
Okay. And I know that there are different levels of waterways and the creeks and, like, how they're labeled on a map and so on and so forth. Do we know, what is that creek determined as far as it's just managed by the county, by the state, or is it?
Well, so again, it is a jurisdictional stream, meaning that the Army Corps of Engineers has jurisdiction over it. And as such, we would ask for or require that the applicant coordinate with the Corps of Engineers and the Division of Water for any necessary permitting, whether it's for road crossings, fill on lots, a water main crossing, or anything. But it is a jurisdictional stream.
And anything that is done through the Army Corps of Engineers that they would ask permission to do anything to that waterway, is that done in the form of, like, a public hearing like this is, or is that just done?
It depends on the level of impact, whether they have to give notice or not. If it turns out to be small impact, that they're able to stay away from it. So it really depends on what the construction plans reveal.
And is there no other easements that would need to be provided or to be gotten in order to access? So as of now, the proposal is just access is from the conservation road to get to the back? Do I understand that correctly?
It depends on how they choose to do an alternate route now that if they can't use the conservation road.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Kelly Weekly, 2020 Rebel Ridge Road, LaGrange. I have a question on the partials, and I had addressed it and about variances because I believe you have to have 140 foot of road frontage to create, and
Ryan mentioned that in his comments already, that they're,
so,
Yep.
well, I guess my question was, so how does that proceed with the variances? You've got to get the variance?
well, the first thing is their proposed access doesn't appear to be appropriate.
Okay.
Because they can't come off the conservation road. So the first thing they got to do is propose a different way of getting to those back lots. If it were by a street, an actual constructed road, then they could have potentially frontage off of that road. If they don't, or they propose some other way, then it would trigger whether or not they need variances.
Okay, because
Again, it's all dependent on what they do after this meeting.
Because I guess maybe I didn't, so road front, am I correct that if I have 10 acres, I have to have 300 foot of road frontage to build a house
To have a parcel.
without, just start building and not have to go for a variance? Come
That's
aboard
correct.
in front of, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, seeing none. So all of our filing deadlines for any of our hearings are always the second to last Wednesday of every month. If and/or when the applicant decides to proceed, if you were notified of this hearing as an adjoining property owner, you will be notified of any subsequent hearing that is applied for. But with that being said, we will conclude this meeting at 1:35. Thank you.